Hey there. I want to address your attention to two things. If you would like to support this network, you can go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. You get extra content and help out your boys. Additionally, you can go to orb.show and check out our new show, Orb, about the Venture Brothers cartoon. It's good. We like it. Also, a disclaimer, my voice on this episode sounds different, sounds a little tinny. I tried some new settings, and they were not good settings, guys. All right, here we go.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireball's Dispatch, our monthly Q&A listener response game announcement topic episode.
Yeah, so we're going to answer your questions. We have a topic that we're pretty excited about, and then we're going to read your responses to No One Lives Forever, Uncharted Waters 2, New Horizons, and Marathon 2. Yeah.
Marathon 2, yeah. And then the Koi Boys will reveal what we're doing in January.
Well, what could it be?
What could it be? Riddle me this. We're a guessing boy in a guessing land. Yeah. Let's get started. Also, I'm going to grunt in pain because I got a bad back today. So every once in a while, I'm going to be recording and then just breathing wrong is going to cause some piece of meat to push up against another piece of meat. And I'm going to go, So I just want to warn everybody about, look out, upcoming
as you shift and breathe. Also, in about 6 minutes, I may or may not be able to buy a PS5. Sony's Q system is a mess, so we may need to abruptly do a break. We can play it for comedy.
Everybody, pray for Cole.
Pray for Mojo.
As Cole reloads and reloads.
No, it's a meter that fills up.
It's an orderly queue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
Let's do.
Yeah, I'll get started here with Cinder Elf. Cinder Elf says, hi, I just want to share a little thing from my Disco Elysium playthrough as I was finishing that this week. I didn't want to do the Union's dirty work, so I never got the body down. I still solved the case, recruited Kim, made friends with the Phasmid, quit drinking, and everyone generally lived happily ever after. But as my unit drove me away from the Martinez back to Jamrock, Lily was still swinging from that tree another week after he'd been strung up there.
Oh!
Yeah.
I knew I forgot something.
That beautification project.
Yeah.
Left untended.
I mean, at this point, it's an ecosystem, and you don't want to disturb it.
Yeah. No, you have to get some, like the Army Corps of Engineers to come blow it up.
God, it's like, what was it? It's the 50-year anniversary of that, of the Oregon whale explosion.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, just I saw the people reposted the news update from that, and that is wonderful. It is one of the most amazing things in human history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the Army Corps of Engineers so much more than the Army.
Oh yeah, they're great.
Yeah, it just seems cool. Like they just like go and they have that saying that Ella Fitzgerald knocked off, that like, you know, the difficult will do right now, the impossible will take a little while.
Oh yeah,
that's in that beautiful song in Fallout 3.
Yeah,
is taken from them. Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah, good on them. If we have any Army Corps of Engineers folks listening, salute. Yeah. I support you, troop. Kind of. Troop with a slide rule.
Yeah, we're just saying hey.
Yeah,
like I don't know what kind of concrete support. We just general well wishes.
Levies are important. Let's see here. Moving on to some game questions. We have Jacob who writes, didn't get my response to Soma in time, but one thing I wanted to ask was what other games, movies, books, and TV shows give off the same vibe of despair and dread that Soma has? Thanks for all you do. Peace.
I think that's tricky because I think Soma is really good at having both like mood and then also concrete things to think about.
Yes.
And it's easy for me to think of things that do those constituent parts, but not as easy for me to think of things that do them together.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I feel like, you know, and these are all go-to examples. That's things I talk about like a lot, you know, but some of that, that mood, that feeling of being like in an alien space, and being in the space being hostile comes across, to me in some Junji Ito stuff.
Yeah.
Like just saying the rules being different. And then that feeling of existential dread came across really heavily to me when I watched Chernobyl. And that was like very literal,
Yeah.
you know, like this, you know, humans are designed to be, you know, destroy themselves, but there is hope as well. There's like space for heroism in this, and sacrifice. But it's really hard for me to think of something that hits both of them.
Yeah, that's probably about where I come down on it. Playing that game, playing Soma again, made me want to reread The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I know that's kind of a normie answer, but like that, I think is probably something that captures the hopelessness of the situation. Like things will never ever get better on Earth, and Simon coming to grips with that, I think is part of part of the game. And the road, you know, yes, the story about a boy and his dad, but also like it is, you know, the aftermath of an ecological collapse that can never come back. Yeah, we can never come back from it. And you know what? Maybe gauge your climate panic before you read The Road, but it is, you know, that is something that does capture the hopelessness, I think.
Yeah, if you're not ready for The Road yet, read Waterworld. The gentle climate panic.
Yeah. As far as like games or movies or what have you, games may be pathologic also as well for the hopelessness, but that descends into like meta literary.
It's so non-concrete.
Yeah.
Like it's so surreal that like I feel like it, you know, it's like not sci-fi. It's more like, you know, weird
it's like a fantasy kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Marcus says, what is your favorite way games use music that's different from other genres? I personally love dynamic music. Similarly, how do you think the fact that game music has to be endless, loop forever, has changed game music and gaming?
I feel like we talked about this quite a bit in the game music episode that we did several years ago, just in terms of, you know, referring to the fact that game music has to loop, kind of changing the fundamentals of game music design. You know, basically since the beginning, but especially in the early days, right?
Yeah. And just because, you know, dynamic music can be really great, even though it tends to correspond to music that is more orchestral and atmospheric than I usually like. So, you know, I like it in Monkey Island, like it less in some other stuff. I will use the fact, or my favorite thing that makes game music unique is like instrument palette. Stuff like you can have these like beautiful like Danny Borodowski soundtracks that wouldn't work in anything else. Like there is a video game sound palette, and it's not just Nintendo bleeps and bloops. There's also kind of like an indie sound palette to video games, and I like that instrument palette a lot.
Same here. Yeah.
So.
Especially older stuff, you know, things that we're basically just retreading now because it sounds cool, because, you know, we did it out of limitations back then, or they did it out of limitations back then, but those limitations were good and cool.
Yeah, we realize it's actually great.
Yeah. And I waited in line on the PS5 for nothing, out of stock. Fuck.
So you're really loosey with the football in this thing, my man. You know?
I want it. I want it. Gary,
I know.
I want it.
It's clear that you want it. I understand. I understand that bit.
Gary,
what do you think will happen when you get it?
I'm gonna play Demon's Souls. It'll be fun.
Well, I know, but like, other than that, anything else?
I don't know.
Like, is there like just a general sense of relief, like a general unclenching that will happen?
Probably, maybe this will be it. Maybe this will make me happy, Gary.
This might be the thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to step on your hopes that this might be the thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's never been a PS5 before.
That's true. That's true. It is unique. It is totally unique. It's like nothing we've seen before.
Yeah.
It can play Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man game. So
maybe now that there's a PlayStation 5,
Demon's Souls,
maybe things will be different now, Gary.
We haven't had a system that can play Spider-Man and Demon's Souls before.
No. Anyway.
Anyway, I do wish you luck.
Yeah.
I've been idly poking at one too because I would like to play Demon Souls and like just for work.
Yeah.
It'd be a breezy bonfireside chat thing, and I want to check it out.
That's the actual answer. I feel like it is our duty to play that game and talk about it in a relatively
I think
timely
people
fashion.
Understand.
Yeah.
If we can't get to it, like right now, everyone is just busy with like Souls YouTubers being like, yes,
Yeah,
finally a snack. I can post another Let's Play of this game.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I hope people will understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. What does David have to say?
David has to say, I suspect this may have been asked on a previous WAF dispatch, but since Baldur's Gate 3 recently came out in early access, which for the 20 plus hours it took me with one character, I'm glad to say I enjoyed it very much. I wonder if either of you have any opinions on D&D 5e in and of itself or adapting it to a video game. What, if anything, you think should be changed in adaptation? Thanks.
I don't have strong opinions about it. I've only played a little bit of 5e when it was pretty early on.
Mm-hmm.
So I have not played Baldur's Gate 3 yet. I'm waiting for it to come out of early access. So I do not, even though I am a tabletop dude.
Mm-hmm.
I've not played lots of 5e.
Yeah, I have not played really any tabletop recently in the past 2 decades, probably. But I only know like the headline features of 5e, basically as a return to form after 4th edition kind of made things probably a little bit too mechanical for some people. Kind of more of like a tactical MMO kind of thing going on. So yeah, I don't know. When I think of D&D, like my platonic example of that is 3.5, and it sounds like 3.5 is what 5e is most like. So thumbs up, baby. Most of the 5th edition reading I've been doing has been like in not the rule books, but like in source books, the Sword Coast Adventure Guide and stuff like that.
Flavor.
Yeah, because I want stories and like module ideas and hooks and stuff.
Yeah. Fire your imagination, not fire your game design part of your brain.
Yeah,
I totally get that.
Yep, your Volo's guide and whatnot. So
similar. Somebody in my game group really doesn't like 5e, so that's part of the reason why we haven't played it very much.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, there's plenty of other good stuff.
Yeah, we're doing a cool game now called with the really unfortunate name Fragged Kingdoms.
Ooh.
But yeah, it's part of the whole fragged line.
They couldn't have gone with like Fragile Kingdoms. Fragile Kingdoms would be good. I like that name.
Way cooler.
Yeah.
It's a good game. It's like well designed. It's just a bad name. Brun asks, what do you think makes a good game review? Assigning numeric scores seems silly, but I understand the need for simplicity, especially when someone is deciding whether or not to buy a game. If you weren't playing games for work, what kind of reviews or reviewers would you go to? This could have been a good topics subject, but just to kind of briefly talk about it with the remit that we might revisit it at some point.
Yeah.
This is an interesting question because I tend to think about games criticism and games reviews on like one major axis, and there's more than that, and that axis is like, is interested if this is a good video game and is not interested if it is a good video game. Yeah. If that makes sense. Like, and it's a broad way to kind of describe the, waypoint, rock, paper, shotgun, split. Yeah. In terms of, what something's going to be about. Like, is this an avenue to talk about something that the game reminded you of? Or is this an avenue to evaluate this piece of art and like how well it succeeds at what it's trying to do? And I have space in my heart for both of those things. My favorite reviewers tend to be smarties who are more in the latter camp. So like Noah Caldwell-Gervais or like Jeremy Parrish, like people who are definitely interested in what a game is doing and how well it does it, but are a little bit higher brow than like, this is fourth of a hair raiser. Like
Yeah.
the graphics have maximum blast, you know?
Yeah. No, I think that I fall pretty much into the same, you know, tub as you. I don't know, bucket. There we go.
Yeah,
And
I'm in a tub.
Yeah, it's a tub. I'm in your tub, Gary.
Hey, buddy. Rub it up, dub. Two podcasters in a tub. Get out of this hotel room. You chose the wrong door.
Yeah. Sorry, I was a little bit distracted there, trying to think of my point.
McElroy tea.
We're gonna bottle this and sell it. You take that, Bella Defeat. No, so like it's tough. I don't find myself like reading a lot of reviews, honestly. And I think that that might have something to do with just I'm not looking for a lot about new games that are coming out. Kind of like I'll know if I'm interested or not. Like when somebody that I follow posts something, like I said, hey, I reviewed this, I'll go in and take a look at like the headings and like read snippets or whatever. I think that this may just be because of, a decade plus of consuming this medium, but like written reviews kind of take a backseat to when people talk about a game on a podcast, like on your Waypoint Radio. Like, Idle Thumbs or Video Games Hot Dog used to be, primarily because I can learn more based on how somebody answers questions about the game that they've played than I can by like reading the review and like getting a sense of the outline that they wrote for it. Right.
Yeah. Well, and there's less in a conversational kind of dialogue based, review or criticism situation. There's less pressure for a premise.
Yeah.
I feel like, so you get a little bit of less about like, this game taught me what it was like to live without a car or whatever. Like you get a little bit less of that stuff that feels very stretchy to me that sometimes I like, but is way swingier in terms of risk.
Yeah.
To me, like it feels like when I read a review like that, sometimes it's just like, it's like excellent. Like this is or a piece of criticism. Like this is really good. This is a great piece of writing that does elucidate the game. But then sometimes it's so subjective and it's so personal essay that I just feel like I don't know anything more about the game after I've read it. Like I'm just like, this doesn't say anything about this piece of media.
Yeah.
And I think that like in a conversation, you can't really do that.
Right.
In a conversation, like, yes, you can touch on a lot of different things, but it just moves so quicker and it's so much more off the cuff that like, you don't have to worry about, not getting that balance.
Yeah.
So I agreed. Like I would much rather hear a discussion or watch like a YouTube kind of thing that is more far afield than I would just read a straight up piece of video game criticism these days.
Yeah. Same.
Oh. And then in terms of numbers, I think that's the main thing I think about with numbers and reviews. That's funny is that like every website will put this like, this incredible, this huge amount of gravitas on doing an announcement that they're either adding or taking away numbers to their reviews. Like every couple of years, like a new editor in chief will come along and just be like, listen, we've made a hard decision. Here's like 6,000 words about why we decided to do this. Like it's the biggest deal in the world. And I'm just like, this is okay. Like that kind of thing. I'll glance at it, but it's, if I'm interested in reading the review, it doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah.
Like, number scores are silly, but also they don't hurt anything to me. So,
but they kind of do because of the Metacritic bonus stuff.
Well, they do that with things without scores too.
Yeah, I suppose you're right.
Like when I'll go to Metacritic and it'll be, it'll say like the AV Club thought something was a 6 of 10, and then I'll click on it and it'll just be an essay that's like, this game's real good. I'm like, what are you talking about? So
it's just somebody at Metacritic who says, this feels like a 7 to me.
Yeah, if you don't make your own numbers, they're just going to do it anyway.
Right.
So yeah, and the bonus stuff is also, to me, separate from the experience of reading a review. Like that stuff matters because I want Josh Sawyer to get a bigger bonus for New Vegas, but it doesn't matter in terms of my experience of reading a review.
Yeah.
So,
let's see here. Is this me or is this you?
This is you.
Okay, Mark writes, in the spirit of Top Gun Maverick, the upcoming sequel to a dumb but enjoyable old movie that nobody was asking to see more of, what dumb but enjoyable old game would you least like to see get a modern sequel that no one is asking for? I don't think that that's the question Mark intended to ask, maybe?
Yeah, least likely is hard.
Yeah,
this is out of
that I would
this is
least
not in the
like.
spirit of Top Gun Maverick. Which is basically there's money to be made.
Yeah.
Video games are different in that way. Like video games don't get as like this is happening. This is like why we had like that Medieval remake.
Mm-hmm.
You're Medieval.
Yeah.
The Decap Attack, but not remake. Every once in a while, this kind of thing does happen.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue this is basically what happened with the new Crash Bandicoot as well.
Yeah.
And I would say Battletoads, but it happened.
It happened.
So
yeah.
Hard to think of something that they're not doing.
Time Lord.
Time Lord, which is not enjoyable.
It's not a good game. I don't know why they would go back to it.
It's not an enjoyable old game, but they didn't. I don't know.
They've been doing it for a while too. Like remember, like in the PS2 era when they made that bit like PS2 Rygar game. That was
I do remember that weird Rygar. Yeah, man, Rygar is back, baby.
Everybody being thirsty for Rygar. Oh
God, I love Rygar.
Yeah, and also
I actually do like Rygar a lot.
Rygar's good. This that PS2 game wasn't very good.
Yeah, that would be a fun WAF at some point for like a short one.
Oh yeah, agreed.
Love especially the NES version because it's it's an RPG. Like you just grind it. Mm-hmm. Like if you're having a hard time, you just get yeah.
But then like they botch it. Like this is what happened with the Shadowrun on Xbox 360. This is what happened with what was it like? Was that like a PS4 or PS3 game when they updated Syndicate and made a boring first person shooter?
Yeah, I don't remember which system that was for, but
yeah. Yep. So it happens. I don't know about my own personal answer for it, but all of these that we listed are ones that I would least like to see.
yeah. Like so it's hard to think of what they wouldn't do, but they'll do anything.
Yep.
Yeah, they should. Moving on here. Greg asks, what is your favorite video game to movie conversions? And what's your take on why it's so hard to convert a game story to the big screen? Should that even be tried?
We have a whole show for that.
Plug, Adaptation Decay. Mm-hmm. If you're a $10 patron, you get that show, every episode of it. Mm-hmm. There are lots. It is monthly. It's really fun. It's consistently some of the more fun episodes we put out, I think.
Agreed. Yeah. And we've looked at a lot of those. We've done 45 episodes of it so far. Not all of them being movies, not all of them being like big Hollywood kind of things. It's tough. Silent Hill is probably the most successful one that I've seen, and even that falls short in a lot of ways. So,
my favorite is the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Ah, shit, you're right. That one is.
It's bonkers. It's real fun. It's stupid as hell.
Yeah.
It's not a good adaptation at all, but I legitimately really love that movie.
Yeah. And that fall that's both kind of like both divides, like good adaptation, bad movie, good movie, bad adaptation, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Kind of the dichotomy that we set up. And should it be tried? Probably. Why is it hard? Because games are longer than movies. And the compression that takes place makes the pacing a nightmare. Yeah.
And they almost never try to actually just do it.
Yeah. They never actually adapt the game.
Yeah. They're at extreme cross purposes for some reason. So we couldn't just make a Sonic movie about Sonic, trying to save his forest friends from Robotnik. It has to be about him making friends with a cop and learning about how small towns are good. Which is the theme of that movie.
It is. Andrew asks, on the Bloodborne cut content episode, you mentioned a disguise mechanic that was cut from the final game. That made me think of how fun a Hitman level set in Yharnam would be. Dressing up as Mikolash, garroting a target with an umbilical cord, etc. I love the etc. because you just gave two of the craziest things possible at the start. Are there any games you two would send Agent 47 to infiltrate?
I would like Agent 47 to do original Deus Ex.
Oh yeah.
Not the new ones. that are all like beautiful and real. I want him to go into like stiff, weird Unetco. Because I think that having him talk to the characters in that would be really great.
Oh yeah.
Just that like a stiff off, hello, hello, Mr. Reaper. Hello. And then just them kind of going back and forth with their weird, just, some of video games' greatest stick up their ass protagonists.
I'm just picturing like the Deus Ex, conversation camera angle, like the abrupt cuts back and forth, like the low poly, low texture resolution face, and then over to Hitman, over to Agent 47, just completely lovingly rendered.
Yeah.
as he is in Hitman 2.
Well, and also just I'm imagining them having the conversation about different like geopolitical systems, and Tobias Reaper putting in all of these double entendres about coups and like assassinations, and just really appreciating that.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Yeah. This is a basic answer, probably just because I've not really thought about any other games since we played it. Disco Elysium would be fun.
That would be fun.
Putting it like in, maybe not Revachol, but like over in some of the more populated areas. Like there's good political intrigue that can get up in there. And that world is like weird enough that enough of the rules don't hold that it would be like fun to get used to it.
It's so contrary to the spirit of Disco Elysium, like just going through and assassinating people,
right?
Like just gleefully giving up all of your lessons about humanity. To murder. That would be pretty great.
Yeah.
In there. And it would be fun to explore those levels from that perspective.
Yes.
I would love to see Agent 47, like a level set in the Resident Evil 1 mansion.
Oh yeah.
While Resident Evil protagonists were doing stuff.
Oh shit. Your
mission
is to take out Barry Burton.
Yeah. Like you have to take out Barry, and like, they're continuing on a timeline like you do in Hitman, doing Resident Evil shit.
Oh,
and like
shit.
there's a zombie costume that you can like blend in and all that stuff.
If this was a multiplayer game, you just basically added Predator to Resident Evil.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Would 47 have to deal with the zombies too?
I assume that like he would, he's just like so quick, like they might try to go for him, but then he could disguise himself.
Right.
Maybe like how he had, like, they'd be like enforcers.
Yes.
Or they wouldn't be enforcers, just the Crimson Heads would be enforcers.
Right. Well, obviously.
I don't know. I need to jot this down.
we need to
that's a good idea.
Got a whiteboard right here. We can do a breakout session.
Yeah. more podcast episodes should have breakout sessions in the middle. Hey, do you want to do a quick breakout sesh?
We're just going to spend about 20 minutes blue skying this. Set the clock.
Andrew asks, what is a game that you were super hyped up for but failed to meet expectations? You didn't hate it, but didn't live up to the infinite praise. I really liked Mario Odyssey and really, really liked Hades, but I found both fell short of the hagiography for me personally. Those are great answers for that.
Yeah.
Those are both games that like I liked and then kind of walked away from and stopped thinking about. The one I'm going to throw on there, and it's a game I actually like quite a bit, and but just because of infinite praise, is Breath of the Wild.
Oh yeah,
which is a game that I think is really fun, and like I really have fond memories of my time with it. But I just hated any of the story stuff. Like anytime I was spending in town, like it did one thing which I absolutely loved, which was exploring the unknown, and everything else I thought was okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can agree with that to a certain extent. I liked the mechanics of that just fine, but as an overall package, it felt like a first draft in a lot of ways. And it's a real bummer that like I'm seeing stuff like, okay, we're gonna take another crack at this world, and it's a fucking not Kusoge, Musoge. Yeah.
Ugh.
I can't think of a way that I would like to interact with that world less than to go and tappa through it. So. Yeah. I don't know that I have an answer for this. It's tough to say like, oh yeah, this game like let me down substantially, just because I try to remove myself a little bit from a hype cycle, PS5 excluded, I guess. I don't have an answer at the top of my head for this right now.
There are games that I that were a bigger, failed to meet expectation. This is specifically the kind of like was okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like I think that I'm cooler on it than you are, but I was very disappointed with the Machine for Pigs, being a huge Amnesia fan. But that was like a big
Yeah.
disappointment. It wasn't a little disappointment. You know.
Yeah.
So.
I've got one here. William asks, to add to the food questions, we have food questions coming up later. In order to avoid thinking about the election, I jumped back into Dishonored 2 and found myself happily stuffing my face between battles. I was going high chaos, seemed appropriate, and thinking about how the food thing in immersive sims is still weird, but is there a better option? In sci-fi settings, sure, stim packs or something, but in fantasy or something like Dishonored or Bioshock, is there a better option for minor health recovery than food? Or has food been baked into, our lexicon since Castlevania?
That's a good question.
It's
it
never
does feel like
harmed.
it's
never harmed my estimation of a game. Like when I joke about playing Bioshock and rushing over to gruffle some garbage dogs so I can get back in the fight, that's not a problem for me.
Well, it's not a problem, but I think it's worth like pointing out how weird it is.
It's weird. Oh, yeah, it's funny.
It's like a part of the video game like semiotics that just are kind of baked into the medium. Like I don't necessarily like, yes, in an incredibly abstract way, food does heal me in real life.
Yes.
You know, but the real, like, it's just one of those things where it is hard to make instant. You know, like if you cut your arm and it's bandaged, that doesn't heal it either.
Yeah.
You know, it's literally just protecting it, just time. You know, the most realistic healing system, weirdly, is maybe like a Call of Duty refilling health, because it does the same thing it does. It just does it way quicker.
It's just sped up. Yeah.
It's just time, but it's just like, just imagine every time you take cover, you're resting in a bed for 4 months, like the English patient. and that it's just abstracting. It's like, we just said you slept for 6 hours. Like, it just abstracts it.
Yeah. So for me, you know, it doesn't necessarily need to be realistic. I think health in general, the idea that there's just a meter that determines whether you can go or not, it's a problem that they've been trying to solve. I think that like some of the best ways that food has been handled in games has been either Snake Eater or like Breath of the Wild, right? And even those are abstracted somewhat. Like food governs your endurance, which in turn governs your health restoration in Snake Eater, right? But like the actual healing, like the realistic thing that gets around this problem, it gets around the problem of a calorie mate, recovering your health in Snake Eater is to apply a suture, to go through all of those steps, right? In the actual healing thing. Like weirdly, like one of the more realistic versions of healing in games is Call of Cthulhu Dark Corner of the Earth.
Sure.
Where like it's also pretty weird to get like a med kit, when you've been taking deep one wounds all day and like
I got all these bullets in me.
Yeah.
And this like tiny thing, like one Band-Aid.
If you've ever opened a med kit, like went up to the Centos box or whatever, like all that's in there is like some Band-Aids and little packets of like, burn cream. Like if you have one of those, that's what you have. But like at the very least in Call of Cthulhu Dark Corners of the Earth, there are multiple supplies that go in your med box and you're keeping track of those. Like that's one of the ways to solve this problem that doesn't involve food. But then you don't get cram. And I don't want to live in a world without cram.
I need Instamash. Stat. I need Dandy Boy apples. And the idea of like, it's a weird thing where like somebody can kind of be a healer, but mostly the body heals itself and we just kind of steward it.
Yes.
And that's a hard thing to systematize in games. It's probably a good abstraction.
Yeah.
It's good that they don't try. Another realistic healing system would be like a shield system. Because then you could just make it like, I have an electronic shield. Like I can't take very many bullets, but I have this electronic shield. I pick up little energy chargers for it.
Yeah.
Bada bing. Like that's fine. Like sci-fi realism.
Yeah.
Quick question, at least for me, I'm going to do, and then we'll probably move on to a different subject here. And then we got a lot of game questions this time around. Ryan asks, were either of you able to try some of the demos during the events that Steam put on them during the summer and fall? I was impressed by the number of games I had never heard of, ended up on my wish list after trying the demos. Primarily Suzerain, and fights in tight spaces. I did not. So I know that's an unsatisfying answer, but I've just been, I moved recently and then just been dealing with mental health and regular health and stuff, and just have not been very plugged into the hype cycle.
Same. I had intended to, because some people had highlighted demos that made sense for me to like cover on Hexcrank, but nothing ever came of that because I was playing other stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, did other stuff instead.
Yep.
So it's cool. It's cool that it sounds like there are some neat stuff in there, and I'm sure it will bubble up to me eventually. If I don't die first.
Oh, of course.
Which is always the tons of media game thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Let's see here. We want to move on to the show questions.
Sure.
That make that or there's just one of these, but it's one we've answered a few times before, but bears repeating a little bit. Alan asks, what games from early on in the show's run would you want to go back to and revisit, having developed a more complete critical vocabulary? On a somewhat related note, your Pathologic episode was a revelation. It inspired me to pick up Pathologic 2 on the PS4, which has been a transformative experience for me, despite some game-breaking bugs. If you were given the chance for a redo, seeing as how Pathologic 2 is in many ways a remake, would you still have covered the original, or would you have instead chosen the recent soft reboot, which ameliorates some of the friction from the first game?
Yeah, the perpetual answer just is Bloodlines, but to answer the specifics of this, like if we did, I think we could do Pathologic too, just fine.
Specifically because we covered the Bachelor, that campaign in Pathologic 1, and Pathologic 2, at least right now, it is just the Harrispecs. It is just Arteme. So there would not be as much overlap on that. We could talk about the ways that like the cosmology has changed and the way that mechanics have been upgraded and such. I don't see a reason we couldn't do that. Yeah.
Anything else that's something that I think we'd want to go back to?
I'm thinking back just like the old. I'm looking back at like an old list. There's some stuff that we've like done like a little bit of we've had a little bit of a discussion of like going back to and kind of redoing. It would be fun to do an episode, like a proper episode about Tony Hawk 2 or 3.
Sure.
Because
Mario
that was
World.
Yeah, Mario World, absolutely. Back last week when I was having some, real election anxiety, as opposed to the baseline anxiety that I have right now, I just fired up Mario World and I got through to like 4 worlds, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, this game is amazing!"
Super good.
And they're just like, we never really talked about that, and that is such an amazing game.
This is my favorite Mario title.
Oh, 100%.
Like So we'll definitely do that at some point. Mm-hmm. And that only kind of counts as doing it again. Yeah. Any of the games that we talked about in like the underrated games live special, we could do a more in-depth thing with.
That'd be fun to do. Yeah. So it's a little bit. That's a little bit more than the standard Bloodlines answer that we have. So
yeah, but there's also still Bloodlines. Which I replayed with a mod over the summer. And holds up, and the mod was good.
Nice.
And I talked about that on a Duckfeed Presents.
Never stream that game because the person who composed the music will give you an actual, like, honest to God copyright strike for it.
Well, that's horrible.
Yep.
I was thinking, I was going to say like that would be a good dispatch thing at one point, but I hate that shit so much, and I don't see the argument for the other side.
Nope, I can't.
That it would be a discussion.
It would just be
it would just be like
complaining.
Fuck these people.
Yeah,
this is dumb as hell. Like, it's not like, yes, technically, if Markiplier is streaming your game, like, is he using your content to make money? Yes, I think it's inarguable that you're getting more out of that than he is as the person who did the soundtrack for Bloodlines.
Yeah.
A 10-year-old game. Fucking dumb as hell.
Yep.
Hate it. Moving on to lightning round. So mad. Look out, Joshua Sizemore. Fuck you.
We're coming for you
because I'm so mad. Joshua says, I noticed your refusal to commit to an authentic Dr. Evil impression in your No One Lives Forever episode. Could you do right by your patrons and emulate the Eve man himself after an episode that was essentially amounted to edging us diehard Austin Powers fans? What's your best Austin Powers? Do it.
Do I make you irritatingly horny, baby? Do I dangle the orgasm, baby?
Oh, wait. I meant Dr. Evil, but that's also what it is.
Sir. Throw me a freaking bone here.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard not to go into an Augustus St. Cloud is the problem on that.
Yeah. Like, Scott, my son, he's like, you had a penchant for buggery. It's kind of like that.
Invented the question mark.
Invented the question mark.
Summers in Rangoon.
My
Rude
wife.
Lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go, Joshua. You may cannot.
The real answer is it's funnier to do a half-assed Dr. Evil impression.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like it's funnier to do a half-assed Borat impression.
It's subverting the expectations. And now we can do Borat's daughter's impersonation because of Borat 2.
We can.
At one point, she opens a beer bottle with her small hole. It's pretty funny. Like, I thought that movie was pretty funny.
I like that movie a lot. That was I really enjoyed it. The debutante ball scene.
Yeah,
I almost passed out laughing, man.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Like there are a lot of jokes in that movie that I thought were very funny. Mm-hmm. The names are really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised I ended up liking it as much as I did. It was,
and it's also like an anti-COVID, like leftist, like pro-health movie.
Very weirdly, given that didn't crop up until the very end of production. So
yeah, good stuff.
Yeah,
did you know that he spent 5 days with those people he lived with in character?
Wow,
5 days in character.
I don't know how. Like, how did they not catch on to anything about it?
I don't know.
They had to have been on it. Like there's no way that they couldn't. Also, did you want to live in the house that those libertarian guys lived in? Because that looked pretty sweet to me.
That cabin was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to become a libertarian to get that cabin.
No, I don't.
But I do want to take that cabin from a libertarian after I take their guns and their church
and their land.
So and their land. So I do want to take all of that stuff from them. Mm-hmm. It's mostly important that they don't have the guns in the church. I'm just going to melt that stuff down. But I do want the house.
Going to melt down the church. Ryan, right? Continuing in our lightning round. What are the chances you might do a Mech Warrior or Battletech game in the future, maybe as part of a Mecha Month?
Low that we would do it as part of a month, but relatively fine in terms of actually doing it. I really want to play the Hairbrain Schemes Battletech game. I have it. I haven't started it yet.
Yeah.
And I do have some affection for the old Mech Warrior games.
Mm-hmm.
But we are not really doing theme months anymore.
Nope.
But yeah, I would be down for either of those things if they cropped up.
Same. I also would like to play that Battletech game.
Yeah, it's supposed to be great.
Yeah.
So I love Hairbrain Schemes. Tyler asks, which pre-war Fallout food do you think would be the worst to eat? For me, it's the Yum Yum deviled eggs. 300-year-old eggs and mayo baked in the Mojave sun. No thanks. That's a pretty good answer.
It's a good answer. And it would be
eggs.
It would be mine if I didn't want to give a different one. If I was not compelled to. But that is objectively the most heinous one.
Yeah, that's really nasty. I'm just kind of taking a look at food here in general.
Yeah, no,
Fallout food wiki.
I've got that one up. The one that seems actually worse to me is from Fallout 76, vegetarian ham.
Oh, that seems rough.
And ham is already like a pretty rough putt as far as like meats go to me. I don't care for ham very much. It needs to, it's too wet and spongy.
I love a ham.
What's that?
I said I love a ham.
Yeah, I like a spiral cut ham. Like a spiral cut glazed ham is very good, but like an Easter ham is not. No. A preserved block of something that looks like but is not ham. It will never spoil, making it an ideal food for survivalists, safe for vegetarians. All that says to me is not food.
Yeah, that's really rough. I'm looking at the wiki here, and one of the packaged foods is called small dusty box of some sort. I think that one might be the one I'm going to go with.
Oh, unidentifiable. Let's say this item has no actual purpose beyond being sellable. How do you know it's food? It's 2 pounds. Gary, it's 2 pounds. No box of something should be.
It's quite heavy. You can also, like, there are things like ant eggs.
Yeah.
And stuff.
I'm thinking of it
brain
more.
fungus.
I'm thinking of it more in the packaged food. Like that's the entertaining stuff in this. I think cold cram would be pretty bad, just because
Cold cram.
cold spam is pretty bad. Like if you've ever had that, spam is meant to be crispy. Thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah. Spam, cold spam, which you can eat that way.
Yeah, and it's cooked in the can.
Actually
Like it's
turns my stomach a little bit, even just to think about it.
yeah.
So that would be really rough. What does Marcus say?
Marcus, as I navigate away from that horrific page that we were on, Marcus says, which discontinued food from your childhood do you miss or at least have nostalgia for? I fondly remember Dunkaroos, even though I was almost never allowed to have any.
Ecto Cooler.
Yeah, Ecto Cooler would be pretty good. I miss Squeeze-Its in general. Squeeze-Its, Mondo. I liked that form factor for a juice. I feel that it, I understand why Capri Sun overtook them, because foil is a little bit less of a devastating environmental impact than the plastic. Oh, there was, God, I have no idea what the stuff was even called. It was sold like Squeeze-Its in the squeezable plastic bottles, but it wasn't sugar water. It was Jell-O.
This is very disgusting.
Yeah,
what you're saying to me.
But
disgusting words.
It would be put into your lunchbox, and it would be like a gelatin that, because you squeezed it and it came out of an open aperture, it was kind of partly chewed for you, and you just you just swallowed down mouthfuls of that stuff like a baby duck.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a squeeze it full of Jell-O.
Yep.
And a pocket full of shells.
That's good. I like that.
It's all very gross. Do you remember that stuff that you put in milk to give it flavor?
Like Nestle Quick?
No. There were like different kinds. It was like the 70s thing that had a revival. The stuff you put in milk, and it'd be like banana or like various fruits.
No, the idea of fruit milk is pretty upsetting to me, actually.
It's really disgusting.
I never really cared for strawberry milk. I was always more of a chocolate milk man.
Well, chocolate, like strawberry milk is real nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember specifically. Like, is it like, were they like Crystal Light packets that you put into your milk? Like it was a...
Kind of. Like, it was like kind of pre the Crystal Light form factor, though. So I think they might have been a little bit more like Pixie Sticks. I'm trying to find the name of it, but it's hard to Google. I thought those things were gross.
Yeah.
Like, you know, my real answer is Ecto Cooler, but yeah. Oh, and C2, which was a brief Coca-Cola that was between Coke and Diet Coke. It was like a lower calorie Coke.
It was like Coca-Cola 10 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Like more than that. Right. It was like Coca-Cola 50.
It was near Coke.
Like it was near Coke. It was just like a drier, less sweet Coke, which is great. Because I like a Coke, but it was just not as bad for you and not as sweet. That stuff was great.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, like a lot of a shocking number of the like bad kids packaged food that I could get is still around. Like obviously you can't get Nintendo cereal anymore or whatever. Did you ever have those Super Mario sodas?
No.
Yeah, we used to have these like when I was like a little kid, but we only got them specifically when we went out to the lake with my grandparents' RV. These were like slim,
these little guys.
Yeah, slim cans of fruit flavored soda. The Princess Toadstool one was one that I liked the most.
Cherry.
That was
these were
fucking
made by
delicious.
Shasta.
Okay, yeah, but like how attractive are those?
I just didn't have the branding.
How attractive are those cans?
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
$400 plus $850 in shipping.
That's not worth it. But my memory is good. The Luigi one, I think the Luigi was sour apple.
Yeah.
I would say that.
That's a great answer. It was Luigi Berry. Yoshi was sour apple.
Gotcha.
And he's got a real like "come finger me" grin on the front, as per usual.
I need to talk to you. We need to have
apple.
a conversation about how much you think animals want you to finger them.
Not animals, Yoshi.
Yeah, okay, Yoshi. Okay,
only
cool.
sentient animals.
All right, okay.
And only But look at his face. Look at this expression on his face. I don't want to send you a link because I don't want to crash the recording. But like, look at the Yoshi on that can.
Hey, dude, it literally just looks like Yoshi to me.
But his half closed eyes, like he's like giving you a bedroom eyes, man. It's a bedroomized Yoshi. Show me something in a bedroomized Yoshi.
I like the I
Hop
forgot
on,
I forgot
he
about the
says.
white the pure white skin on the human characters,
Yeah,
which like
it's very weird.
it looks okay on Peach because she's already pretty pale, Mario whatever, but Luigi, maybe it's just the
Pale
angle that I'm
Luigi.
seeing it at. Luigi looks like he is on
He's
chemo
washed
and
up
it's
on a
not going
beach.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. Like they had to get the Army Corps of Engineers to blow up Yoshi. There's a fetid, distended Italian on the beach. To explode him.
I bet you if I went, so I can't get Shasta because I'm here in the Midwest, but I bet you if you just went and got like a green apple Shasta, it would taste very similar.
It probably tastes the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. But without the fun branding. Or without the
Right.
come finger me scare.
Yeah. And also it reminds me of summers at the lake. And that was a good time with my grandparents. Waking up early and eating crispy pancakes cooked on the deck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Joseph says, is there any chance you'll do a Skyrim review or another Elder Scrolls, Daggerfall, or Oblivion? Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure we will at some point.
Yeah.
I would love to talk about Oblivion. I would love to talk about Skyrim.
Yeah. I would love to talk about the Shivering Isles, the very good expansion for Oblivion. Yeah, I have no problem. I have no problem with those. Going back before Morrowind might be a tough putt, honestly.
Yeah, I don't want to play Daggerfall.
Yeah.
I have bounced off Daggerfall. I don't.
Yeah.
It's
Okay. Back to the earlier question, stuff that we haven't
more of a
covered before.
Redguard man. Yeah.
So stuff that we covered before that we'd like to go back to. We never did the expansions from Morrowind.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. We could just do those though. We wouldn't have to redo Morrowind.
No, but just
even though like
kind of
I
a
know
half
I would end up
revisit.
we'll never do those because I'd want to replay Morrowind.
Yeah, because Morrowind's
I have
good,
time to
but
do that.
it takes a very long time to play.
Yeah. So yeah.
And then finally here, Jonathan writes, do you have any games that you had little information about and bought on a gut read? Were they good or bad purchases?
Always talk. I like bring up Darkstone a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Darkstone's cool. And that was I bought because of a budget thing.
Yeah.
I had almost no information on Katamari when I picked up that. That was an incredibly pleasant surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Did not know a whole lot about it.
Yeah.
And then getting those jewel case PC like 2-for-1 things. That's how I played like Shogo and Septerra Core and Anachronox. And those were almost always just like it's 2 games for $10.
Right. You bought them because of quantity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Here recently, I didn't know anything about Teardown before I bought it. I think I saw like Austin Walker maybe post about it and say like, "Hey, this is good, dumb fun." And I looked at a screenshot for it and I was like, fuck it, it's like $20." And I played it and I was like, "Oh, this is actually really good. This has big Thief Simulator energy. This is like it's like a physics-based Hitman, but if you were doing property crimes instead of violent crimes, it's very good."
Yeah, I love property crimes and violent crimes, so I should check that out.
It's fantastic. I think you would really like it.
Yeah, maybe I'll pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to our topic for this episode. Dr. Wynn says, I'm currently playing through Resident Evil 4 for the first time, and I find myself having a lot of anxiety and stress worrying about what's coming next. As the game has gone on, I've found myself starting to lean on guides, preemptively browsing sections so I have some idea of what to expect and how to deal with it. Without these, I don't know if I'd have the courage to keep going. On the whole, I'm really enjoying the game, but I just can't get over that anxiety hump. I feel like I'm cheating myself out of the true experience by leaning on guides like this. What are your thoughts on spoiling yourself in games as a de-stressing method, and whether or not you're cheating yourself by using them? And we're going to expand this a little bit just to talk about spoilers in general, but we'll definitely address that within the spoiler kind of umbrella.
Yes. So the topic here is spoilers. And it's tough because it's hard to reconcile my own behavior with my actual beliefs on this because when a game is coming out that I really want to play and like, I do go on blackout like I know you do, Gary, right?
Mm-hmm.
For lots of reasons, but most of all, I think just to make the wait less of a problem and to be able to focus on other things and to keep the experience just a little bit special, to see as many things as possible for myself the first time, like when you look at a trailer and you see a cool boss, I kind of focus on like, okay, when am I going to see that cool spider? Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I like being surprised in games.
being surprised is good. However, I don't necessarily have that much of a problem with being spoiled, and specifically going and looking for like a tactical spoiler. There are a lot of
Mhm.
times where I'm playing something and I'm like, is this going to get cool? Is there something about this that is good? Like, what's going to get me through? Like, is there a tantalizing detail that is not being revealed to me yet? Sometimes a quick swing by TV tropes might actually be motivating to me. To, like,
Yeah.
to go and look and see like what are maybe some of the places that they're playing with, or to look at a character sheet and see like, oh, most of this character stuff is whited out, most of this is spoilers, like there's more going on with this person than I think. Like that can be hugely motivating for me if I'm dragging ass getting through something that I know I need to be playing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't hurt me very much. Something that is like a network theme is just kind of the size of the bounty,
Yeah.
that we have. So like there are things where like I being surprised by a game. If something happens that I'm too stressed out for by a game or under a deadline or just otherwise want to know about what happens next or where to go. The intended experience might be wander around for a little while. But I don't want that intended experience. I just want to make a beeline. Even if that robs me of something, there are infinite identical somethings I'll get next time I'm in the mood for it.
Yeah.
It's not a rare thing, actually. We work in a medium where there are no rare things, really.
Right.
Like there's some scarcity, but not that much. And it's just a few brief things that have that. I think that like a lot of people talking about that, like they're confusing the feeling of not having had it for a while or not finding it with it actually being rare. So like, let's say, we're doing Immortal Shell for Bonfireside Chat now. I got to a point and I was like, I want to look up the order to do these areas. I bounced off the hard. I went to the end game area first, was like, okay, this is nonlinear. That sucked. I just want to know the order. And I just looked up the order. And like, yes, that didn't give me the experience of like having that really cool, like, oh, I actually went to like the second hardest area first and like powered through, and ended up with some cool, like, improvements and upgrade items and stuff. And it's kind of a unique experience, but I'll catch it next time around.
Yeah.
Like there'll be another Souls like I'll play and I'll be in the mood to just like kind of bounce off stuff and find my own way, and I'll do it. And then I'll get that feeling. The spoiler did not hurt me. Generally, the thing that I don't like for spoilers is like specific series. Like I like doing From Software games as blind as I can. That is because I know that company really well. So like, I'm not just interested in the specifics. I'm also interested in like kind of a general approach.
Yeah.
And I want to see that stuff. Like the people who are just like scraping the internet right now for Elden Ring stuff are very weird to me.
Yes.
Cause there's very little there. And also like, man, just like, it's gonna be a real big fun surprise when we all go into it.
Yeah.
But for most games, I do not have that feeling.
Yeah. Pretty much the same. Like the one kind of spoiler that I don't care for, and this is more of a willpower thing, but I do find that it is true that if I do break down and look up specifically like a solution to a thing, every time after I do that the first time, it becomes easier to go and look at a walkthrough again for it. In order to get those hints or whatever. That is specifically true of hint systems that are outside of a game, compared to hint systems that are within a game. Within a game, it doesn't matter to me. Outside of a game, it does.
Well, even with that, it for me, it's like I'll just catch it next time around.
Yeah.
Like I was playing Baba Is You.
Yeah.
And I just got to a point where I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. Like I've spent, my time hammering at this. So I looked up a solution. Then it was like what you're saying, it was easier to just do that. But that was also kind of my signal that I'm like no longer really invested.
Yeah.
And I just kind of stalled out on the game. It's like I can look up the rest of this game, but it has just hit the difficulty level that I want. And then it's gone beyond that and I'm fine.
Yeah.
If this is big, complicated levels that fill me with exhaustion every time I see them, I'm good. I downloaded on my iPad, I downloaded The Witness many years too late. Like I don't like that dude as a person, but I was just kind of curious.
Yeah.
And in like the right mood for it. And I think that's going to be the same kind of thing where like eventually I'm just going to start looking shit up. once I do, that probably means I'm done with the game.
Yeah.
I'm slowly running out of gas, and that's fine because I'll just catch the next one.
Yeah.
I haven't played that Steven Sausage Roll game. Like, if I'm in the mood for a puzzle fuck game, I can get puzzle fucked.
Yep. It's out
I
there.
can catch a puzzle dick whenever I want. Like,
yeah.
So
yeah. But like, when it comes down to like story spoilers and stuff like that, like, yeah, there are moments of revelation, but like for so many things, and it may just be because the majority of the games that I've played have been, for this job for the past decade, but like my enjoyment of a game doesn't necessarily come from the first impression that I get when a new thing is revealed to me. It's from like the analysis, like going back and putting it together and reconciling it with other things, right? And so like the first impression is, valuable and indelible. There's a reason you have that saying, first impressions can't do them again, only get one. But like for so much of their stuff, like if the extent of my analysis was the first impression for something really cool, my analysis would only be, holy shit, whoa, dude, which is not great, like every good and sticky thing has been like, okay, the shock of the break from the status quo of whatever happens in the story, and then the satisfaction of putting it together and thinking back on everything that like led up to that. That's just for story stuff. With gameplay things, I don't know, for the majority of games, like for everything short of like FMV games or David Cage games, like the joy is in the doing a lot of the time. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, even knowing what to do doesn't really hurt anything. It's the execution.
Yeah.
It's very rare that like in this medium, games, are doing anything interesting with that space, right? Like if you sit down and try to figure out how the mechanic works in like Assassin's Creed Valhalla versus looking it up, is that a game that's doing something interesting with the fact that you don't know initially? Probably not.
Probably.
Yeah, I agree. Generally not that big a deal. And then also scientifically not that big a deal.
Right.
Like the studies and stuff that they've released about it is like, oh, these don't actually impact people's enjoyment very much. And that's good to know. Like it makes being really mad about spoilers online, like obviously something that you should be made fun of. It's silly. I would be annoyed if someone just came up and was just like, hey, here's the big twist of Elden Ring. That would be obnoxious. Yeah. But I also think like, I don't know, like when people will consider things that happen in the first, like, or in like a trailer or something. There's a movie called The Climb, I think, that just came out that's supposed to be good. That's like all these little vignettes about a friendship. And the review describes the first scene that's also in the trailer. And somebody in the comments got all bent out of shape about it. Like, oh, now there's really no point to watch the movie. And I'm like, that's demonstrably untrue. Like, that's not a matter of opinion. That's also just, nothing backs you up with that.
Right. Like what this review is describing is literally part of the sales pitch for the movie. How do I know this? The people who are trying to sell you the movie put it in the pitch. Like it's in the thing. It's in the commercial. And like, yeah, trailers can ruin stuff. I imagine that like The Truman Show would have been a more satisfying movie to see if you didn't know the twist that was put out there. That's still a good movie.
But it'd be hard though, because like, what would the pitch be?
I don't know. Man lives normal life. Nothing happens.
Yeah. Like, that's a very 2020 appealing thing, not a very like 1995 appealing thing.
Yeah. I was like, is this man going crazy? Something like that. Like, just like, is it actually a delusion? And then you see the actual artifice around him as it expands. It's been forever since I've seen that movie. I literally just pulled that up because like that is the perennial example of like, that I think of where I would like to have not known the premise.
A good game or a good movie that I'm really happy I didn't know the premise of that would have bothered me is The Turn and Sorry to Bother You. And I think that movie does a really good job of having a central hook and then pivoting hard to something else. Yeah. And that maintaining the shock. So you could still sell somebody the premise and all the things in the preview, which is already hooky. Yeah. And then there's this absolutely wild thing that happens partway through that's just like really fascinating. Yeah. I would have been irritated if that got spoiled for me. But there's also like a responsibility angle to spoilers too. Like I went and saw that when it came out. And if I hadn't, maybe somebody would have spoiled the thing. But like, how long do you expect the world to toe the line.
Yeah, to wait for you. Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely a statute of limitations on that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point, if you're getting upset about that, I think it's kind of on you.
Yeah. And I don't want to make this a blanket statement because there are any number of counter examples that, about things that actually matter. But like, maybe think twice about whether or not you want to base an entire policy about something like spoilers on the reaction of the most sensitive person. The person who will say, "Oh my God, you ruined it," because you described a scene from the beginning of the movie that was also in the trailer, right?
Yeah. It's a weird thing where like it's kind of common wisdom and there is some truthness to the idea that every outlier does represent a larger population.
Yeah.
But you can run into so much trouble catering to outliers.
Yeah.
About things like that. Like, yes, they might represent, the one dude who's saying this is ruined, it might represent more than just him. Mm-hmm. But you have to think about what you're doing, what you are doing that might hurt people who are not complaining.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough, because like making fun of somebody for the way that they react to, and, not just for the way that they react to media about media, like that is ridiculous in one thing. But like, if you extend far beyond that and somebody says like, oh, this game has, button mashing QTEs, I can't do that because of a mobility problem. They're like, okay, well, that's an outlier that probably ought to be catered to. Like just it's just when it's just in the domain of media about media where like the overreaction becomes incredibly farcical to me.
Yeah. So spoilers, not that big a deal.
No. Like just avoid them if you want to, but like, I don't know. Most of the time when I've been spoiled on something, I've forgotten the name of the thing that they talked about, that was in there until I got to it. And I was like, oh, I vaguely remember that. Okay, it's fine. Whatever.
Yeah. Doesn't hurt me that much. It hasn't been a make or break for me.
Yeah.
So, let's move on to our responses.
Let's do.
Thanks, everybody. If we didn't get to your subject, we have some of these building up, so we will do a catch-up episode at some point soon. Mm-hmm. Moving on to your responses about No One Lives Forever, Uncharted Horizons, Uncharted Waters, New Horizons, and Marathon 2.
Yeah. I'll get us started here with Alicia, who writes in via contact about No One Lives Forever, saying, I love the world of Kate Archer and have returned to it often over the years. Though my replays of No One Lives Forever 2 far outpace the first game by a considerable margin, I replay the original every few years and enjoy it. Your criticisms are totally on point. The stealth in the first game is horrible, especially when compared to how well it is implemented in the sequel. I've replayed it so many times I'm to the point where I usually just cheat or skip past the grading parts now. It's a little hard to go back to the limitations of the first game after playing No One Lives Forever 2, but the settings, characters, and story keep it engaging. Hope you get to No One Lives Forever 2 someday. I would be interested to hear your thoughts on the changes that they made to deepen the gameplay and fix some of the issues from the original. If I had one video game wish, you know how it goes. The series' fate still legitimately bums me out. If I think about it for too long.
I have no objection to doing No One Lives Forever 2 at some point.
No, I want to see what they do with that Akron level. See if it's
Akron. Yeah.
See if it's Akron accurate.
Yeah. Devo's there. And also like I would like a break from that, but I'm invested in the story as well. Like I liked the fluff and world of that game quite a bit as well.
Yep.
So, it is a bummer that it just kind of dead in the water for now.
Yeah.
But stranger things have happened. Like, it could still revive.
Right. Who knows?
Yeah, it would be cool. Doug says via contact, thanks for revisiting a game I loved and mostly forgotten. As a child of boomers, who are in fact quite okay, the music and culture of the late 60s was always a staple in our house growing up. No One Lives Forever is one of the very few games that take advantage of that setting and motif. That always surprised me given how central that period is in our collective history. I'm not saying we need Assassin's Creed Hate Ashbury or Miyazaki's Yeldon Samaring. Those are Sarmering. These are good. These are good jokes.
Yes.
I'm butchering because of these portmanteaus. But outside of a handful of Vietnam era shooters, this seems like weirdly unexplored territory. I'm curious if there's a game you think that would be suited to flower power and what that might look like. I think you answered your own question because this is a comedy era to us now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I think that's the reason why we're not getting Assassin's Creed Hate Ashbury.
Yeah.
Because this is Awesome Powers has taken this entire zone and despoiled it, like salted the earth, baby.
Yeah. All of its aesthetics, and like even the most like superficial of its aesthetics have already been harvested and brought forward to other decades. I'm looking at you 90s. I know what you did to the 60s.
Yeah, we know that delight. we know where your groove is. So it's like a very specific type of game that can do this kind of thing seriously.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I think you could do what is that? I think you do like a Crazy Taxi or something like that. Like you do something arcadey that takes place in the setting, but it'd be hard to do something narrative and not have it be just goofy as hell.
Yeah, I want to see when this takes place. Mafia 3. It's in 1968. Like that's the other way that you go about it is to set something in the unrest of the late 60s.
Yeah.
You know, which over
not a very groovy time, baby.
I mean, it was the exact same time. Like the Summer of Love was 67?
Yeah, I'm just joking about how civil unrest is not groovy.
Right. Yeah. So like that's the other way to do it, or to do, you know, a Vietnam game, but like, nah, maybe don't do that. Weirdly, like the one good 60s game is Spec Ops: The Line, specifically because of the music. And, you know, it's themes. Yeah.
So that is, but I agree, it is a setting I have fondness for.
Mm-hmm. Same. Gabriel writes via contact, I don't know what you guys are playing it on, but I'm playing this on PS2, and all I gotta say is, fuck the dive scene 4. And then Gabriel writes in a little bit later saying, earlier, I wrote in about No One Lives Forever on PS2. It said something like, fuck the dive scene 4. Exactly. Yeah. I couldn't stand the PS2 version because of the inability to quick save, and the controls were pretty frustrating. I ended up playing on PC because of this, which I'm sure you know is only obtainable through questionable means due to it being abandonware. This led me to the website abandonwaregames.net, and I unintentionally ran into a bunch of my old favorite PC games from my teenage years. Also, I wondered about the legality of abandonware, and I did a little research. I was fascinated to find out that abandonware is illegal to download like any other piece of copywritten software, but the fucks given by the owner make it functionally public domain. Only loosely connected to No One Lives Forever, but a fun fact for a fun game.
Yeah.
Generally a law does not exist if it is not enforced. So,
yeah.
Fun fact.
Yeah. And should not be enforced.
Right.
You know, in this case, it's silly. Like if somebody wants to go download Superhero League of Hoboken, do it.
I have no problems.
Billy says via contact, where to start with No One Lives Forever? I don't think there is a more perfect, underappreciated hidden gem. This is the game that really cemented Monolith as a top-tier shooter developer, and this game should have been a huge success. Blood 2 was really rough. Shogo was quirky, but still underbaked. After getting it right with No One Lives Forever, they continued with a string of amazing games. Alien vs. Predator 2, No One Lives Forever 2, Tron 2.0, Fear, and Condemned. Besides Raven Software, I don't think you could name a better late 90s developer with a track record like this. Also, we'll ignore Contract Jack. I'm still impressed by the sheer variety of locales, the compelling characters, the amazing music, and the varied set pieces that make up this game. And let's not forget that Kate was a gaming female protagonist treated with respect and full character development, which was pretty cool in the first era of Lara Croft. But what sticks with me the most is the humor and heart of the game. So much work went into the random conversations that you could overhear while sneaking around. There must be hours of this clever, silly, and campy dialogue. I remember unpacking the game files and finding funny snippets to share with my brother. It's also quite obvious this was a labor of love. The game was so unique and was clearly a creative risk that barely had enough success to warrant a sequel. It's bright, colorful, genuinely funny, and I really miss the days when a decently well-known studio could take risks like this. I miss the Monolith and Raven of that era.
Yeah, when you lay out that string of games after No One Lives Forever, there's some real bangers in there. AVP2 is really good. I've heard very good things about Tron 2.0. Fear is worth playing. Condemned is surprisingly good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, and it is kind of a bummer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that we've missed this kind of mid level kind of shooter.
Yeah.
You know? So
Yeah. I hear people say good things about Serious Sam 4. I've seen praise for that as a recent thing that came out.
I really want to like those games, and for some reason they've never worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's similar to
Painkiller.
Painkiller. Yeah, like that same, like it's just arenas.
I just guessed.
No, exactly. Like,
right.
Yeah, no, that was a good guess. Like they just take everything and make it into wave-based arenas as opposed to what I want out of a retro shooter.
Yeah. No.
Which is just a little bit more artifice between me and that kind of arcade action.
Yeah.
I do want to explore a space, and like, man, Serious Sam, it's just like pyramid after pyramid.
Yeah, Serious Sam has really big, like, first-person Robotron 64 vibes to me.
Yes. That feels a little bit like Time Killer or Time Spinners. A little bit or whatever that game is.
I don't know what that is.
Time Crane. What? I'm saying it wrong. The PS2.
Time Splitters.
Time Splitters. Thank you. I was pretty close with Time Spinners.
Yeah, a different word.
Yeah. So I'm pronouncing names differently. But,
right.
Yeah, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, no.
Close enough for government rhymes. Like
government rhymes. Oh, fuck. I don't have anything else to say about Billy's response. Good stuff.
Yeah, well said.
Yes. Daniel says via contact, I can't tell you how excited I...
Daniel. It really sounds like he's called this guy Dangle. Like, okay, Dr. Steve Brule. This Drengus says via contract.
Okay.
Daniel.
Drag me. I don't think I mispronounced that, but we'll see. Daniel says via contact, did I get that right, my prince?
Yeah, did it correct this time?
Okay. Dangle says via contact, I can't tell you how excited I was when you announced No One Lives Forever as your first game in November. This is near the tip top of my personal list of GOAT games. Greatest of all time, a step above the original Half-Life even. Monolith's love letter to 60s spy capers was a breath of fresh air at a time when shooters were dingy industrial affairs populated by hulking dude bros or, at best, mute scientists. As an awkward middle schooler who loved Austin Powers' Baby, Monty Python and The Simpsons, No One Lives Forever's colorful aesthetic and goofy tone hit me like a ton of bricks. Holy shit, shooters could be funny? Not strippers and flushable toilets, tee-hee funny, but actual honest-to-God, really, we write jokes, hilarious. On top of that, the game's vehicle sections and skydive shooting gallery gave No One Lives Forever a sense of gameplay variety that felt pretty novel at the time that it came out. No One Lives Forever, alongside KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, permanently raised my expectations of what a narrative game should be. All that said, I definitely share your frustrations with this game's lackluster stealth design. Even as a child, I knew they were bad, but it was worth it for me to slog through the occasional Dumas office stealth section to get to the next joke or story beat. Since you both expressed a love for the game's soundtrack, I would like to share a bit of No One Lives Forever music trivia. You probably noticed that the game has an adaptive soundtrack that changes with the action. Games had been using adaptive soundtracks for about a decade, but No One Lives Forever went about them in a unique and interesting way. Composer Guy Whitmore wrote every song in instrumental layers, and layers were added to the songs as the alert levels rose on the enemy AI rather. Wandering undetected, enjoy that sneaky xylophone groove. Enemy hear your footsteps, there's an electric piano for that. A one-on-one gunfight might earn you an additional layer of Bond-esque surf guitar, and by the end, when you've entered full alert and earned the horn layer, all those instrumental tracks have combined to become a perfect anything can happen jazz arrangement. Anyway, thank you again for covering this classic.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel.
Yep.
Yeah, I appreciate. Yeah, it's a weird thing. I think that, we mentioned this episode, if I had come to this at the right time, I think I would have been an absolute true believer.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. I was a little bit disappointed with the music specifically for the purpose of editing. When you get games that do have the dynamic score, sometimes it's difficult to find a track online that approximates the feeling that you got when you listen to the track in the game.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. And moving on to responses about Uncharted Waters, New Horizons. Casey says via contact.
Okay, Steve Brooks.
Yeah, Casey Kaysen. I got Uncharted 1 when I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and New Horizons a few years later. I've been horny for boats ever since. As a nerdy kid growing up in a town of 500 people in rural Kansas, these games were my first exposure to the world of geography and provided a needed escapism outlet for many years. They also literally led me to deciding to major in economics in college due to how much I got hooked on the trading mechanics. Life pro tip: don't let your 8-year-old self decide your college major and subsequent decade of your career. Thank you for covering, and thanks to David for sponsoring.
Yeah. Thank you, David.
Thanks.
And thank you,
Yeah,
Casey.
thank you, David. And thank you for thanking David.
Yeah. Don't let you yourself decide.
Horny for Boats online. At Horny for Boats.
M4B.
On Instagram. Yeah.
God, that's very funny sentences. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let an 8-year-old you decide, unless like what you want to be as a doctor. Even if what you want to be as a doctor, you don't know if you like medical school. Yeah. Blood sucks to be around.
Yeah. Let take your time to decide your major and don't let anybody else influence you.
Yeah. You do you, man. Ryan writes in via contact saying, Uncharted Waters, New Horizons is in the small group of games that I remember renting on a whim growing up. It was a tradition to walk to the local rental store, which was across a bridge on a different island, every Friday during the summer to try out a new SNES game for the weekend. At 25 cents a day, it was perfect for a kid like me, and most of my memories stem from those rentals. Sometimes I would find one worth saving up to get through. Uncharted Waters was one of those. I remember being so worried that the one copy that they had would be snatched up by someone else by the time that I had the money that I worked out essentially alone with my parents, where they bought it up front for me, and I worked the difference off over the rest of the summer. The game was so different than I was used to that it just drew me in, and like Cole, I was a history nerd, eagerly seeking good boy points in school just for knowing things, so a game that was ostensibly, quote, teaching me something was just a plus. I only beat the game with Ali and Ernst because I was horrendous at the combat, but I have fond memories of trying all of the campaigns as best I could. Finally, this game ended up being in the tip of my tongue category of my brain for about a decade or more after my parents sold my SNES and all of the games before a move in 1998. Stuff like Uncharted Waters, Claymates, and Soul Blazer were too difficult to properly find on the nascent internet when working off of old memories, so I would just try every year or two to search out enough information to find out what random weird game the rental shop in Alaska had for me growing up.
I love those old weird rental shops. That's good shit.
Just the story. I took my quarter and walked across a bridge to a different island to rent a game. That's a good feeling that you gave me there.
Yeah.
Describing that series of events.
That's good shit. Yeah. I remember renting in one of the thousands of places I lived as a kid because of my Dickensian nightmare childhood, walking to a convenience store to rent Nintendo games. That was just like a regular convenience store and bait shop in some shitty town in rural Illinois, and it being like a quarter or 50 cents.
Nice.
To do Nintendo games in like the mid 90s, like a little bit after Nintendo's sell by date. Like renting the Nintendo Rampage to play with friends.
Oh yeah.
So it's good shit.
Nice.
Yeah. And also that feeling of like saving up to get the copy that you've been playing at the store and worrying somebody else would grab it is very relatable.
Very much so. You don't want somebody to overwrite your save. Yeah. Especially in Uncharted Waters, there's only one slot.
Yeah. It'd be horrible.
Yeah.
Kyle says via contact, Uncharted Waters 2, along with the other SNES Koei games, including the extremely nerdy Aerobiz, was a formative part of my childhood. I used to rent at least one Koei game a week from the video store with my dad and play through it with him on his tiny portable CRT TV. We especially liked Uncharted Waters 2 and finished all 6 of the different character paths before moving on to games on the PS1. I still have a dorky passion for trading commodities whenever I play OSR tabletop role-playing games that I am sure was inspired by Uncharted Waters 2. OSR is old school role-playing, I believe.
Thank you.
As y'all have pointed out, the game both blatantly misrepresents history with mythological creatures and sanitizes it up as well. Arguably the most important commodity of the age of sale, slaves, do not show up at all since it would remove the cheery optimism from the game's gloss on the era. This is Gary speaking. I think it would do more than just remove the cherry optimism.
Yeah, it would make it a game
I
would not want to engage in the slave trade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your little Jow selling slaves to Allentown would be difficult.
No,
to Allentown in both respects.
Right. No, I would not want to engage with that.
Yeah. Despite all that, the Koei games did get me interested in real history and made it one of my few solid subjects in middle school. Even if a game is barely educational, I guess it can still inspire your imagination with the idea of history. Since you liked Uncharted Waters 2, I'd finally recommend checking out the 2004 remake of Sid Meier's Pirates. It's a slight game that you get the gist of in 6 hours or so, but those are very delightful 6 hours, and it's a little less stodgy than what you find in Uncharted Waters. Thanks for covering this Koei classic. I like Sid Meier's Pirates.
Mm-hmm. That was one of the discussions that we had when we were talking about doing Uncharted Waters, when we were trying to pick the game that we wanted to do, that David requested of us. I think we ultimately came down, we can do both. They're different things. So
yeah. And with a break,
obviously.
But yeah, I like Pirates. I would like to do Pirates.
Yeah. I like that sentiment here. I guess it can still inspire your imagination with the idea of history. Like that is such a powerful thing, actually. That is like the appeal of historical fiction broadly, but like even in games, like, I don't know, the coolest part of any Assassin's Creed game is like running along the top of the Hagia Sophia. Like, that's cool. It's a good thing to do in a game. Yeah. So, something history-esque can slake your or whet your appetite and get you any more like things. Yeah.
What does Arvid say about Marathon 2?
Arvid says about Marathon 2, I don't want to read Arvid's full name, but it is an amazing name, Arvid. Good job, Arvid. Arvid says via contact, being a Mac gamer, Marathon 2, as well as the other games in the trilogy, was one of the few great games on the Mac. I played the Marathon 1 demo a multitude of times. Marathon 2 improves on the previous game in a couple of ways. The light palette was much improved with nice bright colors, many more outdoor areas, and it expanded on the intricate story. For a long time, the official Bungie story page was a great place to go for reading about the story. There are roots to the Halo universe present in Marathon 2. In addition, Marathon 2 shipped with a level design and physics editor. The physics editor, Forge, was great if you wanted to shoot hunter ammo with your Magnum or just play around with any of the settings. Thanks to the level editor, there were some very advanced expansion sets with multitudes of levels published. Marathon 2 also had cooperative multiplayer, a nice addition that few games had at that time, as well as some really great multiplayer innovations like King of the Hill and Kill the Man with the Skull. Again, the fact that there is no elegant name for that game that does not involve a slur is hilarious to me. Arvid continues. I played through the campaign many times and also marveled at the many VidMaster videos that you could find. Early on in the internet, there were videos recorded where you could download a player going through the game without using weapons, vid style. The AI in Marathon 2 with different camps that could even start fighting amongst themselves was also great. The things that stand out most for me today are the story and its connections with its connection between games and hidden roots. I vaguely knew that there was a connection between Marathon, like in one of the in one of the terminals that you read, I think it's Durandal mentions like Mjolnir, like androids or cyborgs or whatever that are being deployed. Mjolnir is also the name of the Spartan armor and stuff like that. Like there's like terminology that passes back and forth. And I'm positive there have been like, not dissertations, but people have written many, many words about the links between the two universes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always interesting to see what those things are, like concrete connections versus just the same author liking the same kind of mythology for basing his fantasy stuff around. Sci-fi names around. But it's cool that they do those kind of Easter eggs. Like I like that kind of shared universe thing, even if I'm not super crazy about either of those universes.
Right.
Really, I'm glad that Arvid wrote in as a big fan of the series to kind of fill in some blanks.
Agreed.
Some fandom blanks. We appreciate. If you have anything to say about December's games, which are Dragon Age 2 and its DLCs, or Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, hit us up at duckfeed.tv/contact by December 15th.
And if you have anything to say about January's games, the deadline is January the 15th, again at duckfeed.tv/contact. Wait, What are you saying? You don't know what January's games are? We should solve that problem right now.
Fuck off. Oh,
No, we need to help them. We're helping them, Gary.
okay. All right. That's one way to do it. In January, we are doing, and these are patron Work at games. We are booking like March, April right now. So if you do have a game you want to sponsor, you can. These are all patron games. We are doing Return of the Obra Dinn. First, the follow-up to Papers, Please, by that developer. Enter the Gungeon, which I'm incredibly excited about. Doing our first real proper roguelike, and it's one that I have hundreds and hundreds of hours in, and I expect Cole to match me.
I have ones and ones of hours in Enter the Gungeon.
Well, it's you got only 398 to go. And then our premium episode for that month, which is a biggie. We're hitting one of gaming's biggest series for the first time. Are you ready for Watch Out for Fireballs to probably complain about a lot of things about Grand Theft Auto Vice City?
I am so looking forward to doing the real estate mini games in that.
Me too. I'm looking forward to driving around to new wave music on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
I'm less looking forward to instant fail stealth missions and shit, but I'm also going to play on an emulator, I think, so I can do save states.
Yeah.
Because that has forever been the Grand Theft Auto problem.
But we can solve that problem with technology. Yeah. I'm looking forward to the upcoming slate of games, Gary.
Me too. 2021's looking bright.
On the show, not the actual 2020. We need to be clear.
We don't know we have no idea. But it's a big question mark. If you want to sponsor a game, if you just want to get those premium episodes, which would be Dark Alliance and Vice City, you can do so by being a $5 a month patron. That's also how you ask us questions and do prompts for these episodes. And that's at patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv.
Yeah. You also get access to a bunch of additional content. At the $5 level, you get Bonfireside Chat, you get Unfilmable, which is kind of entering a new season, which is fun. We're talking about Tim and Eric's bedtime stories starting this month, which is going to be a good time.
Yeah. We have a brand new show called Orb, which is an episode by episode recap of the Venture Brothers. That is in full swing. You don't have to be a patron to get that.
Nope.
You get to just see it, but you can get the episodes a week early. And that's a really fun show that I think you would like if you like that very good television show.
Which you should. It's a good television show. I'm not in the business of telling you what you should like. It's a good show. I hope you like it.
I think you should like it.
Anything
else? Any other admin stuff?
There may be some changes coming to the way Patreon stuff is delivered here shortly. That will be rolling out slowly over the course of the next...
we're pivoting to drones, baby.
Yep.
We're going to send a flash drive to your house with a drone. Every week.
It's all positive stuff. It's just a change on the back end that I've been preparing for. Once our CMS gets updated, we're going to start look on Patreon for instructions about how to get a hold of stuff in a form that is less irritating than one mono feed. Let's just say that it'll be easier to get what you want, so you can actually listen to the content. Yeah.
And that's about it. So we appreciate you. We will see you in a week with Kirkwall and Hawk.
And Varric.
And then the rest.
All of the others. I actually like the cast in Dragon Age 2 quite a bit.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm having a lot of fun with that game. In a way that it's going to be an interesting episode because it's like I'm having more fun with it than it deserves.
Oh yeah.
For my second playthrough. I like it. It's fun. I'm enjoying it, but man, there's some dumbass shit. I also made the mistake of making Snarky Hawk.
Right.
So it's just like, man, BioWare humor writing.
Yeah.
In full effect.
Yep.
Guys aren't funny.
Nope.
People who write those games aren't funny.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night.